are now listening to the Dreamers Hub podcast. This podcast is about collaboration between the dreamers and the doers to inspire more people to do more of the things they enjoy doing. What is up, everybody? My name is Nettie. I am your host for the Dreamers Hub podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I'm going to assume that if you're listening to this episode, you've already listened to the first episode, which was more so of a test run, but thank you again, nonetheless. I also want to make sure that I thank everybody that shouted out the podcast, everybody that subscribed, left a review on Apple Podcasts, been listening to it on Spotify or Stitcher. I cannot thank you guys enough. If I could hug each and every single one of you guys, I would. And I'm talking about like a good hug. I'm talking about like, not that ass out hug. I'm talking about, or like a church hug. I'm talking about like embraceful hug. And I wish I could show you guys internally how I felt, because I felt like the love was coming from everywhere. But hold on real quick. Maybe I can show you a little bit. Hold up. This is how I felt.
¿Qué tenemos, DJ? Rápidamente.
Que comience la fiesta.
Mesa, mesa, mesa que más aplauda. Mesa que más aplauda.
Dead ass. That's how I felt. I felt like everybody was cheering from every corner, and what a good feeling. I'm glad that you guys are just as excited as I am. Which, by the way, if you are interested in chiming in on this podcast, you don't have to be in the Bakersfield area. You don't have to be even in California. I can link you in via phone and we can still record this thing. If you are interested, please reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you for those that have already reached out and do want to collaborate. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware. Again, because this is all about just being able to put it out into the universe, being able to talk about you, about yourself, being able to openly say the things that you want to do. And it's no pressure, again, but if it is something that you want to do, I would love to have more people on here, more people telling their stories, more people being active and proactive about following the things that they say that they want to do. This is going to be a big year for everybody trying to do things. I feel like a lot of people around me, or at least the people that I'm trying to surround myself with, are trying to do things and really being proactive, really just being on the same frequency as far as getting shit done. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. It is so hard to put yourself out there, because the minute you do it, you have all these trolls online. You have people always wanting to put in their 2 cents like you asked for it. And it's a fucking big deal. It is not easy to put yourself out there. It's not easy to be on camera. It's not easy to hear your voice in your headphones. I don't even like listening to my voice, like if I'm, recording a Snapchat video or an Instagram story and my voice is in the background. Like, I hate that shit. But I'm over here fucking recording a podcast. But it's okay. You know why? Because we are not allowing ourselves to find an excuse not to do something. I said I was going to do it, so I'm going to do it. And so here I am. So I do want to tell you guys that even though I'm uncomfortable and even though I overthink a lot of what I've already put out, the fact that it's done and over with, I'm already doing more than what I did in the last 3 years. So trust me when I say, if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling some type of way about what people are going to think, or you're almost finding an excuse to not do that thing, you need to take control of your mind and your thoughts, because a lot of it, and I'm speaking from experience, a lot of it you're creating in your own head. A lot of it is you creating this monster of, well, what if? Well, what if this? And what if that? And I'm telling you, if you're not trying to have another shitty year, you need to stop that shit. If you're telling yourself that you don't have time for something, I challenge you to check in on your screen time and see how much time you're actually spending on your phone. Because I promise, if you make it important to you, important enough, you will find and make the time for that one thing that you've been saying. Or maybe it's multiple things. Like me, I like being multifaceted, hence why I started a YouTube channel and I started a podcast. 2 completely different mediums, similar editing, still 2 different editing programs, and I'm over here doing it. I'm not saying I'm, 30 episodes, but that's already more than I did in the last 3 years. So that is enough for me to continue going. Because remember, done is better than perfect. Nothing, no matter how much you plan it out, is ever going to come out the way you want it to. If anything, you're learning as you go. You're never really going to be ready for anything. You just got to do it. I can't stress it enough. You just got to do it. There's nothing stopping you but you. Do I have negative thoughts in doing all this? Yes. Am I able to dissect that and tell myself how much of this is me just being scared or paranoid, or how much of this is just me overthinking it? Yeah, now I can. I mean, the last 2 to 3 years have been kind of shitty because I haven't been able to get out of this creative slump for so long. 2 to 3 years is a long time. And I'm not saying I'm in a slump because I'm unhappy in other areas of my life. I'm very happy in other areas of my life. But my creative side has really taken a dump. It was really in a shithole after 2016. I basically allowed myself to be controlled by my thoughts. And just to give you a little background about toxic thoughts and how they can, keep one hostage, really. They can really fuck you up, and they can really basically stop you from doing anything that you want to do if you don't have the right mindset. And so I'm going to take you back to when I started this little clothing line called Wax Fit Co. Project basically had the same underlining theme of just promoting positivity and good energy. At that time, that was back in 2015 or 2016. Man, it was a fun project. I love doing it. I love, teaching myself how to screen print and creating, from the artwork to creating the actual t-shirt. But when I started that project, I think I've had a lot of people ask me like, yo, what happened? Why haven't you done anything with that? And that's been over the course of the last, 2 to 3 years, because I only really did it for like 2 years, 2015 to 2016. I don't think I ever like openly told people like why I stopped it. I honestly stopped it because I just could not handle the pressure it started creating on me, because I wanted to make everybody proud. And so I started creating this monster in my head. Well, like so-and-so said they wanted this, so-and-so they wanted that. And I don't think that any of those, 2 cents from people were ill-intended or, were said to me so I felt like shit about myself. It was just more about me making myself feel like shit, or that I wasn't good enough, that really just fucked me up. And when I shut it down, I really shut it down. Like, the creative aspect of myself was really like just in the slumps, in the dumps. Bars. Anyway, I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle that pressure, and it fucked me up. And I was scared to admit that I didn't want to do it anymore, because I didn't want to let anybody down. And I felt like in doing so, and because I shut down, I really just let myself down, because I was so worried about what people were going to think about the next thing that would come up, or people weren't going to like it. And it was just a constant thought of negative thoughts and toxic thoughts that just started building up in my head, that at that point, I lost all control of my thoughts, and I allowed my mind to control me at that point. And that was super shitty. Personally, for me, I really didn't do anything, because I just felt like almost like imposter syndrome. It was almost like I just could not get myself out of this hole that I was in, but only because I never really allowed myself to really be honest with myself. I really tried to just like brush everything under the rug, and basically just drove myself crazy with the idea that I was never going to be good enough to make anything. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with that project, and that's why I let it go. And I think, the back and forth and the coming with something new and doing something like, what is Nettie doing now? And I feel like that kind of turned off a lot of people. And I mean, I don't really blame them for it, but it wasn't ever me trying to use people. It was just me trying to get myself out of the slump, really is what it is. I really, try to surround myself around people, or try to at least surround myself around people that are constantly trying to do things, and are constantly doing things, or people that uplift me, or people that, just feed me positivity, the positive energy that I need to do the things that I need to do. And I was a loner for a long time, especially because I moved out of, the Long Beach area, and I moved into Bakersfield, and the area over here is a lot different than where I was at before. It's a lot slower pace, but it's harder to make friends out here. And I was really focused on work, and work consumed me for a lot of the last couple years. So I was trying to get promoted. So I think all in all, with everything, with the move, work, and just not being creative, it put me in a position where I just was not happy for a very long time. And it wasn't till 2019 when I really started focusing on what I was feeling. It wasn't until I was like being honest with myself and like just being vulnerable about the way that I felt. At that point, I felt like I was starting to take control of my thoughts instead of my thoughts controlling me. I was able to like go through every feeling. And not for nothing, I went through a lot of breakdowns in 2019 and in 2018. And sometimes I would just cry for no reason. And if you know me, according to my Instagram, I don't look like I'm that kind of person. Like I'm supposed to, because I'm a tomboy or whatever, I'm supposed to be tough. I'm supposed to be something that people make me out to be that I'm not. And I'll tell you, I'm probably the most sensitive person that there is out there. I am very in tune with my feelings, and I am very okay telling you how I feel. But I didn't become that way until I learned patience, and until I learned that being vulnerable was not a bad thing. In telling you all this, I want to normalize that. I want to normalize the fact that everybody and anybody is going through shit. Like, it's not just you. You're not alone in feeling negative thoughts. You're not alone in second guessing yourself. You're not alone in overthinking. You're not alone in thinking you're not good enough. Who is to say anything, really? Because, I mean, unless the people that you think are going to talk down on you or talk about you, unless you either know them or unless they're doing better than you, then you really shouldn't give a fuck about any of those people. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean that in the most positive way. I mean that in, don't allow those thoughts to stop you from doing what you're doing. Stop creating barriers for yourself. Stop thinking about what ifs situations. Like, really live in the moment and really hone in on what it is you're feeling. Go through that feeling and break it down. And the best advice I can give you is to, one, stop comparing yourself to other people, which, by the way, I know that part's hard. It's really hard to be scrolling through, the highlight reel of everybody's best life. It's so hard not to compare yourself. But I think if you are really in tune with your thoughts, if you are able to be vulnerable, and if you're able to be honest with yourself 100%, then you would realize that a lot of it is your thoughts controlling you. It takes a lot to be able to master your thoughts and your feelings and your insecurities. It takes a lot to be able to control that, and it takes a lot of practice and patience. If you do practice better habits and master your thoughts, you'll be able to, at that point, basically overcome anything if you allow yourself to. Because I think a lot of it is people put these barriers and put these excuses like time, or you can't do it because of this, or you can't do it because of that. People really only do that because they're scared to put themselves out there. And it's a scary thing. Me doing this right now is scary. Like, I'm nervous about it. Me being on camera recording some of this is scary because I'm nervous about it. But I'm telling you, at the end of 2019, I came to my senses. I don't know what happened. Something just clicked for me. I told myself that I would not allow my thoughts to control me. And that's a constant practice, even now doing so. I'm trying to practice more self-love. And self-love starts with being nice to yourself. Because I think for a lot of us, we're our own biggest bully, and we're our own biggest enemy and our own biggest critic. And that's where a lot of us make that an excuse and not follow the things that you want to do. But I'll tell you that going through the last 2 to 3 years in that slump, in that creative slump, although it's a low-key failure for me, I feel like I've gained a lot of perspective from having that happen, and realizing that it happened for me and not to me. It happened for me to learn patience. It happened for me to be able to feel through the feelings. It happened so that I could be honest with myself. All that happened so that I can learn from all of that. And at the time, I didn't know it and I didn't see it that way. But now I'm telling you that had I not gone through that, I would not be able to talk to you guys the way I'm talking to you now. I wouldn't be able to put myself out there the way I'm doing it now. And so for better habits, as far as what I'm doing now to try to keep myself out of there, is creating a schedule for myself, creating some kind of accountability format so that I am able to continue doing these things. I hope that if you are listening and you've gotten this far, then you got some value out of the things that I've said, because I know that on social media, I look like I'm that positive person that I always have my shit together. But trust me, I too have insecurities. I too have mentally fucked myself with social media. And I too have breakdowns. I've had breakdowns. So I hope that if anything, you've gained some perspective. You gained maybe one or two things that are of value to you to help you take on whatever that project is. I hope that me being honest about the way I was feeling and had been feeling for the last couple years really gives you some insight as to how normal this shit is and how I think to know the good, you have to go through the bad. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this puts things in perspective for you guys, that this too shall pass. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm here to be your cheerleader. I'm here to support you. And I'm here to tell you that you are not alone. So don't think that you are. And I hope that if you are in a slump, you get out of that soon. And I hope that we can create a community and uplift each other and have a blessed 2020. I love y'all. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. Please do. If you can leave it a rating, I really appreciate it. If you haven't followed the Instagram, please make sure that you do that too. It's @_ the Dreamers Hub podcast. Thanks again so much. I love you guys. Later.